Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Adhyanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you so much for making time on this working day. It's really hard to fight Bangalore traffic. It was hard at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, it's much harder now. So I'm very grateful to you. Thank you for your time and your attention. Today, before we go, many of my teachers are actually in this room, and they are the ones who have enabled me to perform my service to Krishna. So I'm very grateful to them. I don't think that, the parents and the teachers who may or may not have instructed in spiritual life, because they have enabled us to perform our devotional service, we remain eternally grateful to such personalities and never can forget their tremendous contribution to our lives. So thank you very much. Before we get going, we should ask ourselves why you should invest our time and attention in something, okay? Because these are the two things that once you invest, you can never actually get them back. You give someone your time, you give something your time, you're never getting it back, ever. And once you give your attention to something, it's always in your consciousness, forever. So, the goal today should be to use that time and use that attention for the benefit of everyone. So, in other words, everyone in the world, such as people advertising, people conducting sports and politics and so on, are taking your time and taking your attention for their benefit. They want to sell you something. But here in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we want to take your time, your attention, and leverage it for your benefit. That's our goal. And that's our prayer. Okay, so I beg blessings from every one of you. Everyone is capable of giving blessings, by the way. Everyone, the smallest child to the most qualified individual, everyone is capable of giving blessings because everyone is a spirit soul and has a certain kind of Shakti. Okay, so let us pray and bless this association, this gathering, so that something of value can happen here. Okay, so this class is divided into 7 parts. Okay, the first one is we're talking about the sweet names of Krishna. That was what was advertised, correct? So we should ask, why the name of Krishna? What is in it for me? Right? Vifim. That's the biggest thing, right? What's in it for me? Good question to ask. We'll talk about a great saint, Purandara Dasa, native to this part of the world. We'll discuss his song a little bit. We'll look at how his song actually completely exemplifies Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's science of chanting the holy name. The holy name is not some sentimental thing. There's a great science behind it. That's why we invest so much of our time and our attention in that. If there is so much taste in the chanting of the holy name, then our question should be, why on earth can I not taste it? Why not me? Why not me? So then we'll look at what some practical steps are in trying to chant the holy name, and then we'll have a little bit of time hopefully for some personal Q&A, because when we take that knowledge and make it ours, then it stays in our hearts. That's how Arjuna and Maharaj Parikshit made that knowledge theirs by asking the right questions. All of our spiritual masters have done that, asked great questions. Okay, so these are 7 things. First, we'll look at the first 2. Why the names of Krishna and what's in it for me? Okay, so one of the principles in the world that is followed is, okay, why should you do anything? Start with the end in mind. What is it that you want to accomplish? What is it that you want to achieve? Right? So there are both the negative and the positive sides, okay, of it. First of all, in this world, nobody is 100% perfectly happy in material consciousness. First of all, we have Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Darshanam, which is birth, even though it is supposed to be very happy, is the bringer of all kinds of unhappiness. So therefore, birth is actually very stressful because it starts the whole cycle. Death, nobody likes death, but death is born along with birth. So it's unavoidable. Nobody likes old age, right? Ask my teachers over there, right? They hate it. It brings all sorts of constraints upon you. And I'm starting to get there, though I'm not there yet. Then we know from Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says that the consciousness at the moment of death is the sum total of the consciousness that we have cultivated in our entire life. So every single moment of our life has built up, built up, built up to make a particular kind of consciousness, and that consciousness carries us forward to our next destination. Antakale cha mamem swaran muktva kalevaram iha prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. Whatever you think at the moment, whatever consciousness you are at the moment of your death, becomes the basis for your next lifetime. And Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam, in the same chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tajati Ante Kalevaram Tam Tamevaite Kaunteya Sada Tad Bhava Bhavita. Whatever consciousness we carry at the moment of our death carries us to our next life. And so it's distilled into that one moment. That one moment is like the final exam of the final exams of the final exams of the final exams. The topmost thing. That everything has boiled down to that one little moment. Okay. So by chanting the holy name, we can actually live a happy life and have a very happy death. So everybody is seeking to have a very happy life, and people are trying in so many different ways. Some people try through sports, some people try through accumulation of money, some people try to go to the gym. They do social work. There's so many things that people engage in. People are engaged in all sorts of intellectual pursuits, discussions between friends, all kinds of mental gymnastics. The point is that if we chant, then we become happy. That's the journey. And it cannot be intellectually understood because it's something to be experienced. Just like I cannot explain to anybody intellectually what salt tastes like. You have to give them a grain of salt and say, taste it now. What sugar tastes like. Can you explain to someone? What does sour taste like? Help someone understand with words what it means. You cannot. It's impossible. So chanting is similar to that. In the beginning of my spiritual life, I kept asking this question, why? And people said, just do it and try it out. And I tried it out and it actually works. It's incredible. But there is a lot of science behind it. So it's not like we cannot completely explain it, but it cannot be fully understood until we experience it ourselves. Right? I cannot explain to someone the taste of some food or the particular feeling of a particular experience. They have to experience it themselves. So it's a very experiential, hands-on thing. You can't sit on the sidelines and pontificate or speculate about it. It needs to be experienced personally. Krishna's, our Rupa Goswami, who was one of the saints, he's in that picture with the 6 personalities on the altar, one of our spiritual masters, says, Tan Nama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrutyo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya. He says, in the names, the forms, the pastimes, the paraphernalia, the characteristics, all of these, invest all of your time and energy into that. And he promises us a great return on our investment. Krishna is actually eternally happy. Krishna is eternally blissful. Krishna's name is Satchidananda Vigraha. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Satchidananda means he's eternally full of knowledge and full of bliss. So anyone who associates with something with a certain quality becomes of that quality. For example, alcohol or intoxicants are of the association of darkness. So when you associate with that particular substance, you become an idiot. Right? Have you seen drunk people? You can't imagine bigger idiots than that, right? The way they behave. But they have associated with that. Therefore, they have become like that. So if we associate with people who are very greedy after money, then we always start thinking about money. You associate after people who are looking for the flickering pleasures of associating with the opposite sex, we become like that. We acquire whatever it is. So when we associate with Krishna, we acquire those qualities. Actually, those qualities are already in us, but they reappear. That's the second point. Okay, the first point was what's in it for me? What's in it for me is you live happy and you'll die very happy also. No problem. The second point is you want to live a happy, productive life, and the chanting of the holy name actually does that. We'll talk about that in a moment. The third reason of that, we are still talking about why should I chant, right? Scripturally, if you have any faith in the Vedic scriptures, the Vedic scriptures actually say that there are different forms of attaining spiritual perfection in different ages. So there is a famous verse, Krite yad dhyayato Vishnu, Tretayam majato yajato makhaihi, Dwapare paricharyayam tad kalau tad hari kirtanam. So what it means is there are four ages, four main ages. There are many subdivisions of those ages, but four main ages. So there's a Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga, in which the means of attaining perfection is Dhyayato Vishnu. They would meditate for 60,000 years, 40,000 years. Who can live that long these days? It's very difficult. Our consciousness is very flickering. Right, 45 minutes of concentrating in a class. All the teachers know this really well. Everybody starts getting restless. They have to do all sorts of tricks to keep the people's attention, right? Make jokes sometimes, right? Get people engaged, sing or dance something, and then keep people's attention. So in Kali Yuga, we don't have that. In the Dwapar Yuga, in the Treta Yuga, they used to perform gigantic fire sacrifices that would last something like a couple thousand years. They were in Naimisharanya, they were doing a sacrifice that would last for 1,000 years. And they would spend tons and tons of materials into the gold, grains, ghee, so many different things. It last 1,000 years. And for example, Lord Ramachandra did that in his yajna. But it's also not possible. What's the price of rice? Who wants to put in a ton of rice into the fire? Right? People would rather eat it, right? So it's really hard for us to do that kind of stuff. So it's very difficult for us to do that. Dwapare Paricharyayam, in Dwapar Yuga, so all the great temples of India that you see in Dwaraka, in Srirangam, in Tirupati, in Jagannath Puri, all of these temples actually were established during the Dwapar Yuga, when temple worship was a big deal. In the Dwapar Yuga, temple worship actually attracted, who did it attract? It attracted all the invaders from the West, because there was a lot of wealth inside the temples, and they were attracted by this. So that is the age of Kali, where temple worship, we cannot even use proper jewelry for our deities because it will get stolen. Recently in Tirupati, jewels were stolen from Lord Venkateshwara. Can you imagine that? Right? So Dwapar Yuga was the age for that. Kali Yuga is not really the age for that. So what do we do in Kali Yuga? Kalau tad harikirtanam. So the scripture says that in Kali Yuga, if you want to attain spiritual perfection, you chant Hare Krishna or chant the Lord's names. Not just Hare Krishna. There are many other great, wonderful mantras. So the Hare Krishna is an all-inclusive mantra. Many of you are from Karnataka. How many of you are from Karnataka? Few? Few? Okay. How many of you are from Andhra Pradesh? Few? Okay. How many of you are from Tamil Nadu? Okay, some of you. Okay, so you have everybody in South India has definitely heard about Purandara Dasa. Absolutely famous personality. His every word was a song. He composed hundreds of thousands of songs. Most of them are lost because there was no scribe running after him noting down the songs. There was no video recording. There was no transcription. Right? So about few thousand of them are left right now. But he wrote some amazing songs. And those songs, he's a Vaishnava Acharya, Haridasa. So their songs are actually so designed that they completely bring the scripture to the common understanding. And that is the hallmark of a great teacher, isn't it? Any fool can take a brilliant man and make him even more brilliant. But it takes some really great teachers to take somebody who is dumb and make them worth something. So that's actually the credit of the teacher. My school principal also used to say that anyone can take a gem and polish him a little bit, but it takes a real effort to take an ordinary stone and transform it into something that is amazing. So Purandara Dasa and all our great acharyas, such as Srila Prabhupada here sitting here on his Vyasasan, are like that. They take ordinary souls and they transform them into something extraordinary. Okay, so he wrote a famous song. Okay, and I want to try to sing it. Prabhu, we haven't practiced it, but maybe it will work out. Okay, so the words are there. Are they there? So it goes, it's a famous song, Rama Nama Paya Sakhe. Most of you may already know it. Okay, it goes like this. Rama Nama Paya Sakhe, Krishna Nama Sakare, Vithala Nama Tuppavu Kalisi, Bai Chapparisiro, Bai Chapparisiro. You've heard it before? Maybe many of you have heard it already. But if you haven't, this is your chance. Okay? So in this song, Purandara Dasa has actually explained very beautiful. This song, by the way, is taught to all students of Carnatic classical music. So it's a very famous song, and it actually encapsulates Purandara Dasa, what he is feeling from chanting the holy names. Okay? We may not have an experience of Ramanaya Nama is like payasa. We may not have that experience. We may not have the experience that Krishna Nama is like sakkare, like sugar. Maybe not. Right? And we may not have the experience that Vithala Nama is like tuppa, like ghee. It's not, maybe not. Right? But we know that this great Acharya had this experience. We can say, oh well, he can say anything. What's the problem, right? He can say anything. But actually, we should know that Purandara Das was the richest man by any stretch of imagination. So he was known as Navakoti Narayana, which means he was a Vaishya, he was a merchant. His name was Srinivasa Nayaka. And he had a thriving jewelry business. And his net worth was 9 crore gold coins, approximately 400 years ago. So I calculated that using some proxies, etc. So it's worth approximately $500 billion in today's wealth. So he's richer than Elon Musk. Okay? Purandara Dasa, 400 years ago, richer than Elon Musk. Okay? And this gentleman had a spiritual experience and gave away all his wealth. And went around the streets of Hampi singing these songs. So you have to understand that, okay, what makes such a great man by all, people are trying to be very rich by doing all kinds of different activities. What makes this man write this song? You have to think about that. How come? Was he crazy? What happened? We can reflect on that ourselves. Okay? So let's try to sing that one line, okay? Together this time. Rama Nama Paya Sake, Krishna Nama Sakare, Vithala Nama Tuppavu Kalisi, Bai Chapparisiro, Bai Chapparisiro. And then he goes deeper into that, right? He said, okay, in order to experience this, he puts in some prerequisites. Because if you want to succeed in physics or in math or in any business, you want to succeed on the stock market, for example, you have to have some prerequisites. You have to understand what you're doing. You can't randomly do stuff and expect success, right? We need to follow some prerequisites. So he says, Om Mana Godiyu Tandu Vairagya Kallali Bisi Summana Sajjige Tegedu Sanna Vigeya Hosedu, which means Vomana means single-mindedness. If you want success in something, you have to be single-minded. Ask a tennis player, cricket player, how much they have practiced, to attain that kind of success. Ask anybody, a great professional in legal science or, in art or anything, how much they practice and what they have given in order to become. I play the flute, and one of the greatest flautists, Hariprasad Chaurasia, on a day when he's not giving a concert, he practices for 14 hours. Nobody works 14 hours, 8 hours is a maximum, but he practices 14 hours. So, Vammana, you have to be single-minded. Krishna says, Vyavasayatmika buddhire keha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. A person who does not mean business, one day he will be here, one day he will be there, half a day he will be there, running here, running there, looking at this, looking at a cricket match, then looking at the sports channel, then trying to enjoy some music, right? Not Vammana, Bahushakha, many branches. Their intelligence is many branched. Vammana Godiyu Tandu Vairagya Kallalibisi. Take that intelligence and put it into the fire of renunciation. The brahmacharis who live here in the ashram, they're putting their intelligence into the fire of renunciation. Actually, everybody in the Krishna consciousness movement, we are looking to put our intelligence in the fire of renunciation and cleanse it, purify it, make it into gold. Right? Vairagya Kallalibisi. Summana Sajjiga Tagadu. You might be very knowledgeable, You might be very renounced, but you have to be very simple, not duplicitous. Srila Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj said, if you are duplicitous, you will never attain any kind of success. Which means you have to say what you do and you have to do what you say. You do one thing and you say one thing, you say one thing and you do one thing, not going to get you anywhere. Summana sajjige tegedu, sanna shavi, he says, make it into a little vermicelli. And the next verse, he says, where should I do all of this? Where should I do all of this? Whenever you do some endeavor, you require some land, you require some capital, like we are building a temple in Whitefield, right? How much money do we need for that? 25 crore rupees. Okay, we have already purchased the land, right? Purchased, no money outstanding on it, everything paid for. Excellent. So it requires 25 crore rupees to build a temple, ISKCON Whitefield. So the devotees are really looking for it. So if you want to achieve success and perfection in achieving the holy name, what do you need to do? Do you need 25 crore rupees? No. You need 25 crore rupees so we can bring thousands of people into the temple and help them to achieve perfection. But if you want to yourself achieve perfection, you don't need 25 crore. What do you need? Hridayavembo madekeyalli bhavavemba hesaranittu buddhinda paka madi harivanake badisikondu. He says, in a small, in the pot of your heart. Your heart is a vessel. It's a vessel. It's a pot. It's recycling the blood. It's a pot, right? Sometimes people have leaks in their heart that causes a problem. So in your pot of your heart, Hridayavembo madakeli bhavavembo hesaranittu. Not mechanically say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to chant. Sachinandan Maharaj says that you can chant 120 rounds a day mechanically and not get anywhere. It is possible. So bhava, that feeling of love has to be there. You have to chant as Krishna as a person. Bhavavemba hesaranittu buddhinda pakamadi. And don't be stupid in spiritual life. Don't expect that you can do whatever you like and achieve success in spiritual life, right? It's not possible. It's not possible. You have to, just like you have to follow a discipline in sports, follow a discipline in business. Business people wake up so early. Sometimes they wake up early than the spiritualists also. Like they never sleep, right? Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, famous for never sleeping actually. Sleeps very little. That's how he's so effective in his job. People might praise him, people might criticize him, but you have to appreciate the quality that this person doesn't waste his time, right? So this is the thing. Bhavavemba hesaranittu buddhinda pakamadi. Figure out how you can arrange your life for success in chanting the holy name, right? You cannot be chanting the holy name and looking at the television at the same time. You cannot be chanting the holy name and looking at your phone at the same time. You cannot be chanting the holy name and thinking about some work problems or trying to solve some political issues or whatever at the same time. Because it goes against your Vamana principle, right? Not single-minded. But you have to be very, very buddhi. You have to really use your intelligence properly, Even though somebody might be simple, that doesn't mean that they are stupid, You have to be very smart about organizing your life in such a way that I'm going to make chanting of the holy name my priority, my focus in life. Only then you're going to achieve success. Otherwise, Harivanake badisikondu. And then what happens? Purandara Dasa is saying, Ananda, Ananda Vembo. Bandaga tegu eradu. Like he's literally burping with satisfaction upon chanting the holy name. And then what do you do with that satisfaction? Ananda Muruti Namma Purandara Vittalana Nenero. So, in other words, whatever we get from chanting the holy name, you have to reinvest that return back into chanting the holy name. Ananda Muruti Namma Purandara Vittalana Nenero. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. Back to Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam. It's a cycle. You take the capital. There are people who might get a profit from doing some business and they can spend that profit. It's valid, it's legal, but the people who make the most return are the people who are able to reinvest their profit into the same business. Do that again and again. So whatever we get from chanting the holy name, whatever name, fame, whatever prestige, whatever you might get, invest that again into the chanting of the holy name. We let it go. We offer it all to Narayanam. At the end of the day, we offer it back to Krishna. We don't take anything with us. When we are going to bed, we're going to bed as a pauper. You might have chanted 100 rounds, doesn't matter. You're going to bed as a pauper. Tomorrow morning, all the beads are back to zero. You're starting from scratch. Right? Sometimes happens when you chant a lot of rounds on a certain day, and the next day you start struggling. And then this is my actual level right now, not that. That was some mercy that I got. Right? So this is Purandaradasa's taste. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually confirms all of this. Purandaradasa actually came after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already given this in the first verse of his topmost instruction called the Shikshashtakam. He gave 8 verses only 8 verses. The whole of the Vedic literature is encompassed into that 8 verses. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Only God can give you that kind of knowledge. Nobody else can make it up, right? So he says, everybody knows this. We should chant this together. Okay? Is it on the screen? Together. Cheto darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreyaha Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandambudhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So it's the first of 8 verses. Each verse gets progressively sweeter and sweeter and sweeter until it reaches the highest ecstasy. And for most of us, in our entire lifetime, we might never go past the first 4 verses of the Chaitanya, of the Shikshashtakam. But we'll look at these phrases because this is very important. And we have used Srila Prabhupada's translations, and with the help of Vaibhav Krishna Prabhu, we have made it into a little thing there. So you look at each of the phrases. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. What is the translation? Can someone read that out? Well, let's read that out together. 1, 2, 3. So as we acquire the different designations, even in this lifetime, the moment you're born, they slap a designation on the bum, right? It's a boy, it's a girl, it starts from there, right? So cute, so intelligent, so good looking. The designation starts piling up. And then you start your designation, you get a certificate or 2, you start getting prizes, you start getting recognitions, you get gold medals. And then all the designations start piling up. All those designations actually are dust accumulated. They're all actually accumulated. And we have done this over many millions of lifetimes. The dust, I am such and such, I am so and so, I am such and such. And this dust prevents us actually from having everything that Purandaradasa sang. Vamana doesn't give, Summana, simplicity doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. So, but Cheto Darpana Marjanam, when we chant the holy names, that rasayana, that chemistry acts on the heart and removes all of those designations. Even though externally people might praise someone as this and that, internally the person says Naham Vipro Nachanarapatir. Inside, that's what's happening. Even though somebody might be praising from externally, it doesn't touch, it doesn't cling to the heart gradually. Okay? So Cheto Darpana Marjanam. If you want to see things as they are, it happens only by clean consciousness. It's like a mirror, a mirror reflects whatever is shown that. I have Osur sir here, my physics teacher, who's famous for teaching about mirrors, right? Spherical mirrors, real images, virtual images. I still remember all that stuff that he taught me. So that was so useful when I was understanding this Cheto Darpana Marjanam, because we are creating all sorts of virtual images, right, in the heart from having a mirror that is not perfect. It has some concavity in it, some convexity in it, lenses, like different kinds of things happen. So, and we perceive the reality in a completely perverted way. You start thinking This person is my husband. This person is my wife. This person is my child. This is my money. This is my house. This is my thing. My thing. My thing. My. My Guru Maharaj says, my. Yeah. That's what he said. Mine. I mean mine. It's all mine. So that Cheto Darpana Marga happens, and then it has a natural side effect, which is Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvapanam. This world is a very dangerous place. I mean, just going to Bangalore traffic. Who loves it? Who loves it? Right? Who loves the summer when it goes to 47 degrees Celsius and the electricity goes off? Who loves it when the water goes off? Right? These things happen everywhere in the world, by the way. Even in the West, they happen. So, Bhava Maha Davag Nirvapanam. Who loves it when the mosquitoes start feasting on you? And you can do nothing to get rid of them. No matter how much Odomos you apply, somehow or the other they find a spot. Right? So, Bhava Maha Davag Nirvapanam. And then forget about other things like cancer and all kinds of diseases that come. People have holes in their hearts. Like I'm going to meet someone tomorrow who has a 2.5-inch hole in his heart through and through. I'm going to meet him tomorrow. So it's very dangerous, like this Bhava Maha Davag Nirvapanam. But what does it do? Shreyah Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Everybody is looking for some relief from this nonsense that is happening in the world. So chanting of the holy name gives us that relief. Right? Completely, not just temporarily, completely. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam, it actually causes Vadhu means bride. Vadhu. Vidya Vadhu means someone who is married to knowledge. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. So if you are married to knowledge, how will your life be? Will you do anything crazy? Never. You'll only do things that are very intelligent, right? So what did he say? Buddhi in the Paka Madi. Right? So that's where the intelligence comes from. Intelligence is not something that you have to cultivate by doing a whole bunch of math puzzles. So that is helpful when you need to earn a livelihood. You need to cultivate intelligence by purifying our consciousness. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Anandamudhi Vardhanam. Everybody is looking for happiness. Nobody is getting it. You experience a kind of happiness. Next time you try the same thing, the happiness is a little bit less. Third time, little bit less. Fourth time, little bit less. Now you have to somehow figure out how to increase it. So people are like, oh, I'm going to combine this drug with that alcohol, and then do this particular activity. Maybe I'll feel more happy. And one day, just last month, I went to a funeral of a fellow, 32-year-old boy who bought some drugs off the street and died of an overdose overnight. 32-year-old fellow, a former colleague. Right? Unbelievable things that people do just to get a little bit more happiness. Right? It's impossible. Right? With share Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam drowns everybody. Snapanam means to drown. Sarvatma, everybody drowns in happiness. Param Vijayate brings victory to everybody. Everybody is looking for victory in the world. Nobody is looking for Parabhav. And that's what it does. Okay, so if all of this is there, Purandara is saying this, Rupa Goswami is saying Tunde Tandavinim, I want millions of tongues, I want millions of ears. So many, all the great acharyas are saying there is great sweetness in the chanting of the holy name. Why can't I experience it? Right? We just chanted, right? Who felt like that? Why? What's blocking us? First of all, what is blocking us is that we are sick. We are ill. When you are ill, nothing tastes good, isn't it? When I was sick and I was in school, they used to give me this food and it was disgusting. But that's what a sick person experiences. I've actually fortunately had jaundice when I was 16 years old. And I know that sugar cane tastes bitter, sugar candy tastes bitter, everything tastes bitter. So actually, even though this Syat Krishna Nama Charita Sitapya Vidya, even though it's sweeter than sugar candy, Sitapya Vidya Avidya Pittopa Tapta Rasanasan Rochikan. Because of my disease, I can't taste the sweetness of these holy names. Purandara Dasa was free of this disease. He had given away everything. All his disease was given away. Navakoti Narayan was finished. Right? He was completely nishkinchana, akinchana. Therefore, he could experience it. He could taste it. We are sick, and because we are sick, pittopa tapta rasanasan rochikanu. Therefore, we don't find any taste in this. Right? And kintu adarad anudinam khalu savage. Just as when we are actually sick, we take the medicine and we take a diet that's prescribed by the doctor. We need to do the same thing with the chanting of the holy name. It might take a little bit longer than a day or a week or a month or something like that. Sometimes it doesn't. As you can see from the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they chanted for 3 months and they were pure devotees. So it can happen. The second thing is, we are sick. First of all, we were sick. The second thing is, there are actually 10 offenses to be avoided against the holy name, and we commit all those offenses. And we might think, oh, there are offenses, there are rules and regulations. I should avoid offenses by not chanting. But the biggest offense is actually not chanting. So the offensive chanting is less offensive than not chanting. So chanting the holy names is very, very important. Right? So I have lots of references here, but we are kind of running out of time. So there are some practical steps to chant. I'll end with that right now. So somehow or the other, we need to start. Right? You can't finish a book unless you start reading it, isn't it? You can't understand something unless you invest yourself into it. So we have to start. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayet. We have to somehow or the other engage our mind in Krishna, organize. And once we start, we can increase it gradually. It happens. I started chanting 1 round per day only on weekdays. I would take a break on the weekends. Saturday, Sunday, no chanting. Then I was thinking, this is actually nice, and why I'm not chanting on weekends? And then I was thinking, I have actually more time on the weekends. I should be chanting a little bit more. But it cannot happen unless you start. Unless you actually start somewhere, right? It cannot happen. So when we start chanting and we start increasing it, and when you reach a certain minimum quantity, for example, finally you have reached 16 rounds, and then you're like, why am I not? What's happening? You start examining everything that is happening in your life and say, I need to deprioritize this. I need to deprioritize this. I need to stop chatting with this person. I need to get out of this group, right? This WhatsApp group, right? I'm out of my family group. It was driving me crazy, right? I'm out of my classmates group. What is going on there? Like, they're discussing stuff that is just Tumhare bhajane badha. That was what it was. Out, exit, block, unsubscribe, all of this. Stop the magazine subscription, stop. I have to do all of that in order to start chanting properly. So we deepen it. Everybody has their own personal journey in that, okay? So, anukulyasya sankalpaha, pratikulyasya varjanam. Whatever is beneficial to chanting, we accept that. What is not, let it go, right? So, that's it. I'll stop there. I'll just recap. We did 7 things in today's class. We looked at why the Krishna's names and what's in it for me. We looked at that briefly. There's much more to it. We can speak for the next 2 weeks and not exhaust it, right? Though I don't know if anybody has that kind of attention span. We looked at Purandara Dasa's taste, the great man who was worth more than $500 billion. And as of last year's dollars too, because I did this calculation last year. So this year, this inflation and the currency has already become less worth than it was, so it's probably more than that now. We looked at that. We looked at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's science of the holy name, Nama Rasayana. We looked at that a little bit, just a little bit, because there's a lot of depth to it again. We looked at why I might not be able to taste what Purandara Dasa is tasting, what Haridas Thakur is tasting, what Srila Prabhupada is tasting, what our spiritual masters are tasting. And then we looked at just a few practical steps. You can't perfect something you don't start, right? And we looked at we also, in the beginning, we talked about how if some question has arisen in your mind, you should ask it. Now, I'll be mindful of everyone's times. I know that everybody has to go home, and we still have prasadam, and the devotees are going to serve prasadam and then clean up, etc. So there's a lot of work here. So we'll keep it brief. We can also have personal Q&A during the prasadam time. I'll be still here. I'm staying very close to this center, so it's not I don't have a commute myself. So if you have the time, then we will do that. But yeah, that's it. We'll leave time for that with that recap. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, questions, comments, reflections, challenges, doubts. Or maybe everybody's hungry.
I would like to ask a question.
What's your name, Prabhu? Announce your name first.
My name is Vinay.
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 Vinay Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yes. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Jai.
My question is, you said we have to be single-minded. The people like who come from, normal village background.
You're in the best background, you know. You don't have so many distractions.
Yeah, right now I'm facing so many distractions here. Now it's normal after joining ISKCON. So my question is, how to control lust?
How to control lust?
Like I have talked with so many, so many of my friends wherever I go.
First of all, how old are you, Prabhu?
25.
Okay, so your body is a 25-year-old body. Okay, I'm approximately double of that right now. But what I want to say is that as a young man, you have all these hormones kicking around in your body. So it's a natural thing.
Yes.
First of all, okay? So you have all of this stuff happening inside the body. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nigraham kim karishyati. Nigraha kim karishyati, which is repression. What can it accomplish? Right? So if I'm not repressing, then what should I do? Should I be following, all of the dictates of my body and senses? No. What is advised for you to do is to take that energy and deploy it in Krishna consciousness. So that's what the brahmacharis do. You know how hard the brahmacharis work?
Yes.
They don't sleep a lot. They don't eat a lot. Right? They are like powerhouses. Right? So we have to take a page from their book. So I won't ask you to go into a personal analysis of how much do you sleep, how much do you eat, what are you looking at, and what are you noticing when you see someone. So but these things are there. So when you catch someone, so the definition of education in the modern world is actually flawed. Education means collecting information. Education means all sorts of things that education is not. Right? So Chanakya Pandit, Srila Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit. He says that Atmavat Paradareshu, Atmavat Sarva, what's that? Matravat Paradareshu, Paradravyeshu Loshtravat, Atmavat Sarva Bhuteshu, Yah Pashyati Sapandita. Thank you very much, Prabhu. You deserve the gold medal. Okay, so if our education has not brought us to this point where you are seeing all the other women who don't belong to you as mothers, because even though you're in a village, you are watching Tollywood and Bollywood and all this stuff, isn't it? Have they taught us to see women as mothers? They have not. Exactly. They teach us that every single person in the whole world is an object of my sense gratification.
Yeah, I mean,
everything for me.
How to generate respect for everyone. Strangers, like family, people, relatives, it's fine. Like when I go out.
When you chant, it comes. So I know that you're feeling impatient because you're not getting the answers that you feel that you deserve or that you want or that you need. Okay, but I can tell you that the conditioning from this lifetime and previous lifetimes is very, very strong. So you have to have patience with yourself because you have that conditioning. Recognize that we didn't come from the heavens, we fell on the ground. Right? That's what birth is called, Bhupadanam. So that's where we came from. So no, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So recognize that, follow this devotional life, especially what you eat, what you look at, some amount of, are you living in a base? You live in a base?
What do you mean?
Do you live with the other devotees?
No, I live with my brother.
Okay. So there are lots of little adjustments that you can make that will help. Right? Because if somebody is engaging in certain kinds of activities, then it causes us to engage in those kinds of activities also. So you might need to make some adjustments to your lifestyle. Okay, and it helps. It has worked. So once when I went for my second initiation to Lithuania in 2013, okay, um, I was on the plane going from Toronto to Frankfurt, from Frankfurt to Vilnius, and then somebody picked me up from Vilnius and took me to Kaunas, where the initiation was going to take place. And you're on a plane, and there were like 60 screens that you can see. One person is watching a violent movie, one person is watching a lusty movie, one person is playing a video game, another person is watching some news, somebody is watching comedy, and you have all these screens. And at that time, I was already chanting Hare Krishna for many years, and I had said that on the plane I will chant more. Okay? So, but my problem was I was chanting, and once I'm looking at this screen, then I'm looking at this screen, then I'm looking at a Chinese movie, then I'm looking at a French movie, then I'm looking at whatever people are looking at, right? Different things. And then the whole time I was distracted. I was trying to chant, but I was completely distracted in that whole flight. And the next morning I attended a Bhagavatam class by my spiritual master, Sankarshan Prabhu. And I said, I have a question. I was on the flight and I saw all this, and it was not I landed in the afternoon, and in the evening there was a Bhagavad Gita class. And I asked this question, how can I control, looking at this? He said, Mahabhagvat, meet me at Mangalarti tomorrow morning. And then I met him at Mangalarti. I was there. I was living in the temple. I had no choice. Right? The brahmacharis were walking all over this way and that way. I had to get up, take my shower, and go for Mangalarti. And my spiritual master said, he looked at me and he pulled out something from his pocket and he threw it on my face. And what it was an eye mask. I still have it. It's in my bag. So when you're on a plane and you cannot control yourself, what do? You put on your eye mask. Huh? Like Kurmonganiva, in the Bhagavad Gita it says, Kurmongani, you withdraw your senses. That's what you do. Sometimes, when you're driving, you cannot do that. Especially in Bangalore. But you get the picture, right? You got your picture. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Prabhu there, in the back. We'll go for another 5 minutes max, and then we'll pause there, okay?
Thank you, Prabhu, for this class, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, it's a realization. I was thinking that when the class name, like sweet name from Krishna, it will be Govinda, Nathanjo, Nandikishore, Radha, Madhav. What sort of so many names that will be there, but it was totally different. So I was thinking 7 8 names of Krishna will be told here in this class.
Yeah, when I was singing Radha Madhava, I was thinking about those names. And
so that song has so many names of Krishna, so that is the realization.
Beautiful realization. What's your name, Prabhu?
Vaikuntha Charan Das.
Vaikuntha Charan Prabhu. Well, obviously you have that realization. Hare Krishna.
This is sort of realization which I want to share. My vision was different, but something else which was there, but that was also...
I actually shared, this bullet points was shared because Amal Puran Prabhu said the devotees want to get that. I don't know if that was shared on your WhatsApp group, but I shared those points the 7 things that we were going to talk about. Thank you very much, Vaikuntha Charan Prabhu. We have anything? Please pass the mic. No, it's important. Everybody can hear the question. Because I'll tell you what, when you ask a question, there'll be 100 people thinking about the same question, but they are too shy to ask it. So everybody, I had that question too. What's the answer to this one? So what he was asking, every young man here is thinking about, but he was brave enough to ask it.
Yeah, so you were mentioning one-pointed.
One-pointed attention.
We hear so many classes, we get inspired, and when we do our feedback, we just to, but reality turns out to be something that some mistakes like that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
And we get little less enthusiastic or demotivated because we were keeping effort every single day, but every single day we were failing. So,
That's a great realization. Okay, so your question is?
yeah, how to stay inspired?
So my physics and maths teachers will be very happy when they hear this answer, because now they know that I have actually remembered what they told me all these years ago. Okay, so essentially, your devotional practice and your attention is somewhat like a wave. It may not be sinusoidal because it's all sides of jagged peaks, and it's like a whole Fourier transform thing. You are like you have a mix of many frequencies there inside the wave. Okay, like that, correct? Sometimes it's very high, sometimes very low. It stays high for some time, less time, more time, right? Then it goes low for less time, more time. Like it's like completely erratic, correct? When you are in the association of fired up people, then you get fired up, and then you go back to your own world, and then you get less fired up, and so on. Okay, so the best thing that we can focus on, there are two things that we can do. Okay, so one thing we can do is when you're in a peak, try to prolong that peak as much as possible. Right, by taking full association. There's a spiritual master in town, like Ramapad Maharaj is in town right now. Prolong that by taking that association as much as possible. One, prolong that peak. Okay. The other thing is when you have a trough, like when you have a low, right? You can try to raise the bar of that trough. Let's say you're going from plus 10 to minus 10. So if you next time go from plus 10 to minus 6, isn't that a victory? It's better than before, correct? So like that, when we are chanting the holy name, we start by saying, okay, well, start with 1 round, then make your minimum to 2 rounds, then make your minimum to 4 rounds, then 8 rounds, then 12 rounds. Once in 2008, I met Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and he had this habit of asking, how many rounds are you chanting? Have you met Gopal Krishna Maharaj ever? Have anybody met Gopal Krishna Maharaj ever? You have met. He asks everybody, how many, if he knows that they are not yet initiated, how many rounds are you chanting? He points the finger at you, and you're like, 6, something like that. So at that point in time, I was adamant that I'm going to increase once every 6 months. So I was at 14 rounds at that point in time, in 2008. Okay, and then Gopal Krishna Maharaj asked me how many rounds you're chanting, and he looked at me up and down like I'm some alien. Well, who chants 14 and doesn't go to 16, right? Who does it? Right? He was looking at like, I don't know, kahan se aaya ye? Right? He was looking at me like that. And I was like, no, I've got to go to 16 today. Forget about the 6-month rule. Right? But that was my attempt to reduce the trough. Because otherwise erratic. Sometimes you're chanting 16 rounds, sometimes you're chanting 0, sometimes you're chanting 46 rounds, sometimes you're chanting 3, like that. So you increase your trough. So that when you get more and more advanced, the advanced devotees fall down, is the beginner devotees pure devotional service. Mother Lakshmi Muni says that, right? She says that when you're starting in devotional service, you get a day where you said, I have done everything so perfectly today, there couldn't be a better devotional day than this. And you go to bed very happy, right? 20 years later or 30 years later, you say, that was sense gratification. So your pure devotional service on one day is your sense gratification at your own new level of advancement. You know what I mean? So try to prolong the peaks and try to reduce the troughs. If you do this, then even your trough, your bad day, for example, is going to be way better than a day otherwise, right? So, and what you do is you measure yourself against yourself in the past. Don't measure yourself with others. You know what I mean? Don't measure yourself against others. Measure yourself against yourself from the past. 10 years ago, how much devotional service you're performing? And today, how much you're performing? And 10 years from now, how much you'll be performing? So measure yourself against yourself, because it's your journey. It's not that person's journey or that person's journey. They are on their own trajectory. Krishna has given them whatever he has given them, yes? Like somebody can be brahmachari, somebody can be, completely renounced, doesn't want any children, all of that, right? Yeah. And somebody has these kinds of needs, right? So you're on your own trajectory. So, but don't think that your trajectory is unimportant or somehow or the other less than. Don't compare like that. That kind of comparison will only depress you, right? Just compare yourself with yourself and try to become a better version of what you were yesterday. And just calculate it like that. Like last year I was doing this much, this year I have done this much. But go all out on that. You know how the merchants count their money? today I have 2 crores, tomorrow I have 3 crores. You know, you be like that. Tatra laulyam api moolyam ekalam. You be very greedy about devotional service. Take it. Don't when you get an opportunity, then just go into it deep. And don't worry, don't think that you're an hypocrite because now this Acharya has left the town and now, you're back. It happens to all of us. Happens to all of us. Like on one day you can chant 64 plus rounds, and the next day you're struggling to complete your 16. It happens. Does it help? Thank you very much. What's your name, Mataji? Mataji. Okay, Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. We run out of time. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Harinam Prabhu ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Thank you very much. The next program is